Our MC is an office worker and he tells his childhood friend to go to sleep, but then she replies it's unfair because he gets to stay awake and she sleeps. As a result, he says it's okay for him since he is an adult. Afterwards, her name is Kaguri, also she is his childhood friend, and they have been living together for past years, plus he was forced to take care of her because their parents rarely come home, so they gave her to him by worrying about her safety. He then thoughts to himself who would give their daughter to someone that's living alone. Plus she looks really beautiful, like a fairy tale. She then says that Nana-kun's dress is all white. After hearing it, he gets shocked because she is wearing his dress. And he goes on by pinching her face, while telling to her that he can't find her face because she is wearing a white shirt, also she has a white pale skin. As a result, she suddenly asks him to let her relax for a while. But this shocked him, so he goes on by thinking that she is also working really hard to keep her cool, because of their parents' behavior. Meanwhile, she thoughts to herself that her cheeks got stretched. Afterwards, he sits next to her, and says he doesn't care about her wearing his clothes because they are childhood friends after all. She then suddenly says and they are engaged with a slight blush, but this shocked him, and he thoughts to himself that's a joke their parents came up with, since they are always too close to each other. And he tells to her that their parents won't let them to be in an improper relationship with her, so as long as she stays in this house with him, he will spoil her as much she wants. As a result, she blushingly looks at him, and grabs his dress while calling his name. All of the sudden she leans on his shoulders by asking to him if she can get spoiled like this. This made him to get flustered, and he started to panic and says he meant that she can get spoiled mentally but not physically. But before he could finish, she suddenly gets really close to him and makes her cheeks touch his cheeks. But before he could react, she suddenly says she forgot to do her homework, so she will finish that first and go to bed. In the end, she left. After returning to her room, she started to blush while rethinking about the moment their cheeks touched. Also, Nana-kun got embarrassed after getting close to her face. In the end, she went into a full blushing mode. And then she decided to act more spoiled since he gave her permission to act spoiled. On the other hand, he was still confused because he didn't know what just happened. At the next day, she is cooking omelette. She then thoughts to herself that Nana-kun used to be a neighbor who is like her brother, and he always ended up looking after her. But as she grows up, she started to look for him more often, because he always spends his time together with her. But now that she is in the high school, she now knows more about him than a dependable older brother. Afterwards, she suddenly blushes while thinking, he is really cute. All of a sudden he wakes up, and thinks to himself that he is really tired. He then, with a blushing face, remembers the time she touched his cheeks. But then he decides to put it as her small way for welcoming him, plus she became so beautiful after coming to the high school, so he is sure that there are many people are trying to win over her, so there is no way she is after him. All of a sudden he hears a knock on the door and this shocked him. It was her, and she says he will be late for his work if he don't wake up now. After seeing him, she asks to him on why his face looks so pale, to which he replies he didn't get a wink of a sleep, which shocks her. But then he realizes that she might find out that he didn't sleep because of her. So he tries to change the subject. All of a sudden she blushingly says, "Is it because of me?" Which made him to get embarrassed. So he decides to ask her on why she did that. But when he tries, she changes the subject. And tells to him he doesn't have time, plus his boss is a scary guy, right? In the end he gives up, and he decides to ask about it when he returns back to home. Also he realizes he needs to cook breakfast, to which she happily says, she already cooked the food for him, which shocks him, and he pats her head by saying thanks to her. As a result, she got more happy and blushingly stands there. Afterwards, while he is eating, she says he have bad hair, to which he replies he will comb it before leaving. As a result, she thoughts to herself that was really cute. At the same day, it became nighttime, and she started to get sad, because he haven't returned to home. In the end, she regrets about her touching his cheeks, because he is not returning home, because he started to hate her for doing it. As a result, she starts to cry. All of a sudden he comes back home, and he was changing his shoes while thinking to himself that he needs some sleep. But then she suddenly hugs him from behind. She then blushingly says sorry to him, and this made him to blush, so he asks to her on why she is apologizing. And he is the one that should apologize because he worked overtime without telling this to her. As a result, she blushingly tells to him that she thought he started to hate her because of what she did yesterday. and this made his heart to skip a beat. And he goes on by asking to her on why she did that, to which she says it's her way of showing her love, which shocks him because she said it straightly. As a result, she blushingly replies she wouldn't do that if she doesn't like doing it. And this made him to blush, and he goes on by saying she is always with him from her childhood, so she doesn't know about the world. Also, there are a lot of guys that are better than him exist. In the end, she rejects it by saying she knows about the world, to which he replies that he is the one that helped her to correct her lack of common sense, since she didn't even know normal things. All of the sudden she gets shocked, and she goes on by asking to him if he got a girlfriend, to which he says he don't. And then she asks if he got married. He just replies no to it as well. And this made her to get sad, because he is still rejecting her. Meanwhile, he thoughts to himself for some reason he is attracted to her for a long time. Maybe he pre-ordered her just for this intention. Even still, he succeeded in the order. He still can't let her love him, so he was trying so hard to stay away from her. As a result, he says that he wants her to be happy without him. After hearing, she calls him and suddenly asks to him if he do not like her. As a result, he got flabbergasted, so he gets flustered, and he didn't know what to say. But then she hugs him, and she goes on by saying she got the gist of the situation. So in order to make Nana Kuin to want her, she will spoil him as much as he likes, which made him to blush. After a while, she is at her school, and a guy calls her and he says see you tomorrow to her, to which she smiles slightly and says see you tomorrow back. And while she is leaving the classroom, they started to compliment her by saying that she looks good and also her manners are really cute. And it almost like she came out of a fairy tale. So which means she is a well-behaved and polite in her school. But when she returns back to her home, she acts like this, which she blushingly hugs him, and he thoughts to himself that she is acting like this ever since she said she will spoil him. Also, she doesn't know what she is doing because her balloons are touching him. He then blushingly asks to her that their relationship is still a childhood friends, but she quickly denies it by saying they are engaged, to which he once again says that they are childhood friends. As a result, she blushingly asks to him if he hates her, to which he didn't able to say anything, so he pushes her off by saying that's a devilish way of asking. But she replies that she asked like that on purpose. Afterwards, he realizes that it's his fault for not turning her down at the start. After hearing it, she grabs his head and hugs him. As a result, he started to panic. He then suddenly asks her on what she is doing, to which she replies that she felt some bad feeling in the air. After a while, he started to wonder why he is being held down in this weird position. Also, he doesn't know why he can't put any energy to escape. In the end, he realizes that she smells really nice and soft. But then she blushingly says that she always wanted to do this to the older version of Nana Kuin, but he just hears it silently while being held by her. After a while, he gets disappointed that he is being folded under zero pressure. Afterwards, he is watching a TV, and she suddenly puts some notes in front of him. Afterwards, she tells him to teach her on how to study. To make him do it, she will do anything for him in return. As a result, he just tells her to ask it normally. Afterwards, he realizes that it's maths, to which she replies she didn't score better last time, and she goes on by saying she needs help in this part. As a result, when he tries to see it, she was really close to him, and then when she looks at him, he was sitting in the opposite side of her. Afterwards, she goes on by asking to him that he used to be good at maths when they were kids, since his mom always bragged about him, to which he replies he is not good at it because he only scores as a top 5 in their classes. He then suddenly asks to her on what happened to her because she is also good at maths, because it's really easy and she could have easily solved it. As a result, she suddenly says that her mind was full of thoughts about Nana Kuin when they are learning about this. After saying it, both of them get silent. In the end, she gets fully embarrassed, and she goes on by thinking that she didn't mean to say that. Meanwhile, he thoughts to himself while blushing, she is embarrassed about it after saying it. As a result, he suddenly says it would be better if she goes back to her home, since her grades are falling down. In the end, she started to cry by saying he shouldn't have said that, which shocks him, and he goes on by asking her to study with him as long as she wants. All of the sudden, she says she lost her sugar level in her mind, so she wants the pudding he is eating. In the end, he silently accepts it. As a result, he blushingly takes out a spoon full of pudding and feeds it to her by saying that they are not a kids anymore. In the end, he takes out another spoonful out of habit, but she replies, "1 bite is enough." Afterwards, in the time back, before he succeeded at pre-ordering, he suddenly gets a chance. So he calls her and asks to her on what she is doing outside in this cold weather. Afterwards, he realizes she is alone, but she says she is always alone, because her mom and dad are always at work, so there's no one at home. After hearing it, he calls her, and he thoughts to himself that it's his time to do his pre-ordering. So he goes on by asking to her that she likes cocoa, right? To which she replies yes. And then he goes on by saying he knows how to make cocoa, but the problem is that cocoa can only be made in his home. As a result, she got curious. He then says that his mom is at their home. Also, since both parents are close to each other, he will call them and tell them about the situation. Also, if he leaves her alone here, it will only make him look like a bad guy. As a result, she quickly says she will come with him. Afterwards, while walking, she says she can't let Nana Kuin become a bad guy. In the present, she blushingly remembers this. Afterwards, she goes on by thinking she always thought he will be the one for her. Also for Nana Kuin, she is the one too. Also, she was able to confirm it by seeing the reaction he makes when it's about her and other girls. Also, it's really obvious wherever she gives a physical contact, he flusters really hard. After saying it, she gets up and opens the door while thinking why he is not admitting the fact that he loves her. In the end, she decides he is doing it because there are some circumstances that is preventing him from saying his love. All of the sudden, she gets curious after seeing him playing the game. In the end, she happily hugs him from behind. But he didn't stop playing the game, and he goes on by asking to her if she don't want him to play games, to which she replies that it's okay because he is good at playing games. After hearing her voice, he shivers, because her balloons are touching him. In the end, she remembers the thing that she read in a magazine, which is whispering his name in his ears. As a result, she whispers his name at his ears, Nana Kuin. As a result, he got fully red. After seeing it, she started to smile. And she goes on by thinking, no matter what circumstances that's preventing him from admitting that he likes her, she will just make him fall for her more, until the circumstances doesn't matter anymore.